Get your tickets now for the 23rd annual edition of the OUTshine LGBTQ Plus Film Festival happening April 23rd to May 2nd. Don't miss our incredible grand opening drive-in event followed by 10 days of non-stop films from here and all around the world that you can watch at home. Watch trailers and get your tickets at OUTshineFilm.com now.
That music always makes me dance. Dancing is good. Welcome, all you Outshiners, to the 23rd Annual OUTshine Film Festival Miami edition. My name is Joe Belancio. I'm the Director of Programming for OUTshine. Thank you for joining us for this Q&A with Walk With Me. We're so excited to have the cast and crew with us to discuss the film, and we're excited to bring them to you. But first, a big thank you to Gilead and Miami-Dade County, two of our presenting sponsors. Without them, it'd be hard to do what we do. And I always say it's not only us, but they do such wonderful things for the community in general. So thank you to Gilead and Miami-Dade. Thank you to the Producer Circle. We always say membership has its privileges, and this is no different. They get lots of benefits for the festival. And I encourage you to go online and find out more information at OUTshineFilm.com. You can also find out more information on all the wonderful films that we have going on. And we'd love for you to partake and join us, even if it is virtually. We do have our closing night, if you're watching this before that event. So make sure that you join us for Charlatan, closing night film at the Miami Beach Botanical Gardens. And again, you can find out more information at OUTshineFilm.com. All right, enough about all of that. We're so excited to have with us, as I said, some talented members of the film Walk With Me. We'll start out with Isabella Del Rosal, the writer-director. Thanks for being here. Also, we have Panita Shanrasmi Lefabra, producer. I apologize if I butchered the name, but we're so glad you're here. Also, Daniel Fox, who plays Ethan. Daniel, come on in. Thank you. Also with us, we have Devin Dune Cannon. Devin plays Amber. Thank you so much for being with us. And last, joining me, another member of the OUTshine team, Jen Chris, our vice chair.
And Joe, what an amazing introduction you do. Your introductions are so much better than mine.
Well, thank you. I'm not supposed to.
Important things. I just am like, on to the Q&A. But you do a beautiful job, Joe. And Joe, you're an incredible director of programming. Thank you for finding this fabulous film for us this year.
Well, thank you. Speaking of the fabulous film, Isabella, I'm so excited that you're here, as well as the cast members. It was such a phenomenal film. And this is, I believe, your first feature. I know you've done some shorts, and I know you wrote it. So, wow. Talk a little bit about that. Talk about, sort of writing, and then talk about how even the story came to be, because it's really just a remarkable piece of art. So.
Well, thank you. I mean, first of all, I'm just really honored to be here with you all today. And the lineup for OUTshine looks so wonderful. So I'm just honored to be screening our film with such a wonderful group of films. Yeah, the film, this is my first feature. I had done 2 short films many years ago, and then I took some time off to raise my kids, and then started up with a web series that Devin was a part of. And I wrote this script in 2014, and I the crux of it was wanting to write a love story, and I guess at the root of the truth and rawness of the way the film turned out, of the screenplay, is just kind of a reflection of me and the way I look at life and the detail I look at things, the just emotional truth and rawness and beauty that comes from love and relationship and losing and gaining and all those things. So yeah, it's been a journey. I wrote the screenplay and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with Logan and Amber, and Devin and I had already had a work relationship and had become friends through that. And when I finished the first draft, she was the first person that saw the first draft, and she was on a train going home to Rochester and read it like it was like instant feedback, which was wonderful. She was really excited about it, and she had wonderful notes, and has had wonderful notes throughout the whole creation of the film, which is why she ended up getting a story consultant credit. But yeah, it's been this incredible journey, and we made it on a micro budget, and all the right people showed up, and it's been a magical experience making this film.
Joe.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure, you mentioned micro budget. I'm not sure our audience sort of understands what that means. And I think that's important because you did so much with so little, I'll say so little financial. I think you had certainly powerful, cast and crew with you who supported that effort. But, talk a little bit about that, and talk a little bit about the process, like how long was the shoot and the editing and.
Yeah, our budget was $80,000 for the whole film, and that was only possible because the people that came on board, the cast and the crew, believed in the story, and they believed in it enough that they, almost volunteered their time. I mean, there is a stipend. We all hit the SAG minimum stipend. Basically, everybody worked for that. And we worked long hours because we were, our crew, we had a 9-person crew on average. And so everybody wore many hats. Like Panita, our producer, was making breakfast often. And just everybody had to pull their weight plus more, but did so with such love and grace. And it was really spectacular. So we also, because the story took place over the course of a year, and because the budget was so small, we didn't have the budget to, have fake snow on the trees. And we didn't have the budget even for people to work for a month and pay their rent. So the idea was to actually partition the shooting, the production out over the course of a year. So we shot 4 one-block weeks. Like the first was April 2018, then June 2018, October 2018. And then we wrapped, I think, end of January, early February 2019. And then we captured all the seasons, and we grew over that time. We had it was like a reunion every time we got back together, and we had multiple wrap parties, and then editing. I edited the film, and I started editing summer of 2018, and I would edit until it became time to be pre-production for the next block of shooting, and then I would edit. And anyway, so it was just kind of all thrown together, but with such incredible people.
It worked. And one of the things I also want to comment on is the use of a lot of female cast and crew. We rarely see that. You'll see maybe 1 or 2, but judging by what I saw on IMDb and on the credits, which I love to watch credits, and I think that's powerful, especially about a film that's so women-centric. So, kudos to you. Panita, small budget film. Talk about some of the difficulties, and congratulations on adding chef to your title as well. But that's the joy of, and I see that in all of you, coming together and do what needs to be done. So talk a little bit about sort of some of the, issues and how you overcame them.
Well, the thing is, it was a lot of people have to do much more than what their title was, but in a way I really think that it was what made the experience of making this film so special, because like everyone really came together like for this one reason, and it was like Isabel said, everyone just like really put in like so much effort, and just when we see the final product, like it's something that we're really proud of. And the fact that we pulled it off with like our little family of 9 crew members is, I think, one of the most rewarding things ever. But yeah, there were some, it's not like we have a bunch of PAs who can do lockups. So a lot of our street scenes were we had to do multiple takes because this happened and that happened. This person walked into the scene, etc. So, it was challenging, but it was rewarding. Is kind
Yeah.
of
Well,
my way from it.
congratulations on that. Again, you can tell that it was a special movie, and we appreciate that. Devin, we sort of know how you came to be involved with the project, but if you can sort of, remind us of that, as well as talk a little bit about how you got into the character, because it's such a complex role. I mean, is she a straight woman who falls in love with a woman? Is she a lesbian who at one time was in love with a man? And, it didn't matter, but it's all sort of part of that character. Can you talk a little bit sort of how you wrapped your head around all of it?
Yeah, I think, well, as Isabel mentioned, we had previously worked together on a sketch comedy show. And so she and I were doing comedy together for a year. And then this came along, which is very different tone. But I think part of what allowed the opening of the door for the process of me as an actor getting my sort of head around Amber was the fact that Isabel, first of all, is such a collaborative person to begin with and to work with. So there was always this open dialogue of questions, and if I was confused on something, we would talk about it. But also because I was able to come in from the beginning and see the script and watch it develop, I think I really just was offered this insight that a lot of actors don't get into the process and who Amber is to begin with, because we had to have a lot of conversations about who she was just in sort of development of the script, or at least in like what I was offering on sort of notes, as Isabel said. But yeah, I'm just so different than this person, than Amber. So it was a really fun challenge for me. And this sounds so silly to say, but sometimes, actors have this conversation about whether they go from sort of the inside out or the outside in is kind of an industry phrase, as in like, do they do all the work on who she is and then put on the costume, or do they kind of put on the costume and learn who she is? And it sort of all fell into place for me. Like she has like very specific nails and hair, and it kind of all came together when I saw her in the mirror, and I was like, oh, this is sort of more who she is. And in terms of her backstory, I never wanted to nail it down whether she was gay and from all along, or Logan took her by surprise. I really wanted it to come naturally. And so I just allowed it, because we shot it over the course of a year, I just allowed it to unfold naturally. And I never made any concrete decisions about who she was until it was right in front of me. And it was really fun to get to work that way.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And talk a little about the chemistry with Bridget, who plays Logan, who unfortunately couldn't join us. But again, it was so real and so natural. And I mean, especially you're talking about how sort of the year helped you, but to me, it could hinder it as well, but it didn't. It was sort of really special.
Yeah, I can see how it could have hindered, but there was something really magical about this. Isabel and Panita assembled the right crew, the right people, the right just glue, and so every time we came back together, there was it was like the stakes were even higher and everyone was even more excited to see each other. Isabel and Bridget and I, our chemistry, I think it's one of those things we kind of lucked out. She and I, we got to know each other really well, like outside of the world of this piece after spending so much time together. And I fell in love with her as a performer and as a singer and as a person. And we had a lot of time I've said this in the last couple times, but we had a lot of time to play. And Isabel is so open and flexible that we just would come into the room and we would all make it work together. And there was just a lot of love. So the chemistry part just kind of felt really natural. And I felt the same thing with Daniel when we read the first time in the room in our auditions. I felt a really intense chemistry. And I think in general, Isabel really was really smart about hiring people who that's already there. We don't have to do the work. You just have it with some people and you don't with others. And we lucked out.
Yeah. And it's, that's, I think, one of the parts you talked about, the love on the set. It really was love is sort of the storyline. So, and you mentioned Daniel plays Ethan, and Daniel's joining us from South Africa, so there may be somewhat of a delay. I have a question I'm not sure how to ask, but I'll just throw it out there.
Great.
You have an important role in the film, but it's not about you. It's about the women and your impact in the women. Yet you're so sort of powerful in what it is, and you're walking that fine line between like anger and acceptance and understanding, and you did it tremendously. So talk a little bit about that.
Thanks. I agree with you 100% that the film is absolutely not about me, and I knew that going in. It's always interesting to take on a smaller role in a film that you really care about and believe in, because you feel like there's some meat on the bone, and if you can bring an element of truth, then maybe you can help the whole. But for me, it's important that it's a female-driven story, not just on the page, but behind the camera, and like you said, a very female-centric crew. I think it's a very important time for a feminine voice in the cinema, and I'm super grateful to be a part of that. I find that often stories, either female-centric characters or indeed written by women or directed by women, there's often a color and an approach that is different to a lot of stuff that I've done before, and I really enjoy that energy. And for me, the balance with Ethan is, relationships fall apart, and they often fall apart for whatever reason. It doesn't need to be a huge catastrophe or fireworks or someone doing something really awful. Sometimes relationships just don't work, and because human beings are human and they're fallible, and the reaction is always it's a multitude of things. It's a combination of feelings and the time it takes for your mind to get your head around what's actually happening, and that will alter your behavior. And so for me, I tried to, when I was doing some research for the character and working with Isabel and Devon in particular, on this relationship, we spent a long time talking about the relationship and backstories and all kinds of things to help put real truth behind it. And sometimes the truth is difficult, and it's ugly, and it's sad and beautiful and all those things at the same time. And often with breakups, there's a lot of anger, but anger is a secondary emotion. There's always hurt underneath it. And I really leaned into that. Well, I tried to, and just try to tell the truth. And it's easy with Devon. She's extremely reactive, and that is a gift for an actor. It's a gift for that actor who is reactive, and it's a gift for the other actor working opposite them, which in this case was me, because at that first audition, when I walked in, and she and I started cooking immediately. And that's a gift, because all of a sudden, some part of you wakes up and you go, okay, this is all right, here we go. It's not just an audition, there's actually something at stake here. And that's the kind of work that I like. This story has a lot at stake. There's a lot of heart on the line here. And when you feel that right from the beginning, from Isabel and from Devon, any part would have been wonderful. I'm very grateful for the part that I got.
Yeah, and you talk about the gift to each other, and the gift to us. So.
Thanks.
Isabel, there's a huge musical component in the film. How involved was Amanda Walther, the songwriter, in the creation of the story? And did she sing it all, or was that entirely Bridget's voice?
Yeah, I went to grade school with Amanda's brother, and he and I had been working. We had been collaborating. He did most of the music for the web series that I was working on before, and then just other jobs. He lives in Nashville, and anyway, when I was starting to write the first draft of this film, he and I were talking, and he mentioned that his sister was touring, and I was like, "Your sister? What does she do?" And he said she's a musician, and so I listened to some of her music, with Dalla, which is her and Sheila Carabine, and it's this beautiful Canadian folk band that's just breathtaking. And there's a level of emotion to the music that was stunning to me. And I subsequently, before I started page one, as I started writing, I listened to their music on repeat for the entire writing of probably every single draft of this film. It just helped get me into this emotional place that the film required. And so in essence, both Sheila and Amanda were a part of the writing in that way. And when I finished the first draft, I reached out to her and I sent her the first draft, and I asked if she'd be interested in writing the music for the film. And so this was years ago. This was in, I believe, in 2014. And she read the script and loved it and said yes. But there was no money and there was no prospect of making this movie. It was a dream at that point. And I was in Toronto, which is where she's based out of, visiting with friends, and met with her in person. And we started in 2014, summer of 14, talking about the character of Logan. And I started to give her a backstory, because I did an extensive backstory for all the characters in this film. And I started to let her know what I thought her voice would be like. And Bridget ended up having the voice, like the raspy kind of voice, and that strength of spirit. And so cut to, we're making a movie. Amanda wrote the 4 songs that were in the film first, that Bridget sang. So those are all written, everything's written by Amanda. And so Bridget performed those 4 songs live in the film in her voice, because Bridget's a singer-songwriter herself. And then the rest of the music is Amanda's voice on the soundtrack. So there's 16 original songs total in the film, and they're all, even Sweet Heat, which is like a dance song that's at the bar. She wrote that. And then Sheila Carabine, her singing bandmate, sang it, because she's got like a more soulful voice. And then Adrian Walther, her brother, produced it. So it all came full circle with the music. And the album, she's releasing song by song of the album. 2 songs are out so far, and the next one's coming out on Mother's Day, actually. And it's beautiful. So Amanda Walther, if you look her up, there's some incredible music coming out.
It reminds me a little bit of Amanda Marshall. I'm sure are you familiar with Amanda Marshall, Isabel? I thought you were Canadian. So I'm Canadian. You're Canadian, aren't you? I feel like Jan Arden and Amanda Marshall are these 2 Canadian artists that nobody knows about in the United States, but they're so huge in Canada. And there was something about the look as well of Bridget's character that just also had that look. So I'll look up your girl and you look up my girl. But my other question I wanted to ask you as well, Isabel, is, was it always going to be a lesbian love story right from the first draft? Or did that move and take center stage? Because it is, very, very almost brutally honest. I feel like a lot of people have had a relationship with the give and take and the emotion and the highs and lows that you see these characters go through. Joe and I were talking a little bit about this before, and I was saying, nope, that's spot on. Like there were a lot of things that were so spot on and so well acted. So tell us a little more about that, how you put that together as well.
Yeah, that was always the intention. The story is a made-up story, but the internal life of it is based off of my internal life of coming out and later in life, or just even just realizing a whole different avenue of life was like opening up to me, and the struggle that came with that, and the all the considerations, all the fears. That was all the internal world, Amber's internal world. It was a lot of me. I mean, Amber is a very different person than me also, which was deliberate. Our personalities are completely different, so some of the things are almost more heightened for her. But it was, I wrote that at a time where I was kind of experiencing the same things. And so all those feelings were very much on the surface for me, and they're infused in the film.
Yeah, that's amazing and touching, and it's almost like you're bearing your soul through another character. So thank you for that. Back to the actors in Panita, and you sort of alluded to this fact that it was a very collaborative environment. But talk a little bit about that. How you might have contributed in a way that was unexpected and appreciated, and if you have any particular stories that sort of heighten that. And I could tell just from your conversations in Isabel and that would be the case, but it's nice to hear. And if we can just, you can illuminate that a little more, that'd be great.
I think one special moment in filming this, because the thing is, we shot most of the film actually at Isabel's apartment in Brooklyn, and we actually made flats to shoot it as different, like as Amber's apartment and Logan's apartment and their apartment at the end. So it was a whole thing. But there was that part where they go to Fire Island, and that was when the crew we rented an Airbnb to shoot in. And then we spent a night there, and it was really, we built a fire because it was in like the autumn, and it was just really, really nice. I made food for everyone again, and Bridget was on the guitar and she was singing with Devin, and then like by that time we knew all the songs by heart, so we were all singing, and it was just a really special bonding experience with just everyone on the crew. And like I said, like everyone are just that we managed to get were just absolutely, just amazing people. And they worked so hard. And I'm so grateful that, this is the result.
You seem to cook a lot. I hope you enjoy it.
I do.
Okay. Devin, anything to add on the collaborative process?
Well, actually, it's funny that Panita mentioned Fire Island, because that was sort of the first thing that came to my mind too. Isabel, I hope you don't mind me saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my memory, that we arrived in that scene. There's a scene that takes place by a fireplace, and it's this really romantic, lovely, warm scene. And in the script, it was meant to sort of go a different direction. It actually was supposed to turn into a fight. And all of us were in the room, and we were feeling the warmth of the fire and feeling each other's warmth, and we were talking about the script, and it just sort of dawned on Isabel, Bridget, and myself, and I imagine a lot of the crew as well, who also got to have input, which is incredible. It was like, you know what? I feel like at this point in the script, we need to root for them. We need to want them to work out. Let's not have another fight. Let's have it be like the first time they say, "I love you," or something, and it just we kind of started talking about it, and it unfolded into a version of the scene that ended, that still got the bits and bobs that Isabel had wanted in there, but ended in this really kind of romantic moment. And so that's what I mean by collaborative. I mean, Isabel has this beautiful script and is willing to work and move and adapt as the film works and moves and adapts, and the people within it do. And so that's a really good example, I think, of how collaborative in nature this whole process was.
Yeah, Daniel, anything to add?
Yeah. because it was such a small crew, we would share a space. We would be in someone's apartment, and we would all be, wardrobe, hair, and makeup would all be in one tiny room, and the food would just be just over there, and everyone was it was like, I don't know, like going to camp. Like everyone was in one little place all at once, and the really great thing about that is that everyone was really respectful about the way that everybody else worked. There was never a moment where anybody got in anyone else's way. And we were changing clothes, and I remember one night we were changing clothes out of the back of a van in the middle of the street because we didn't have an area to change clothes. So we just did it. I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to just do it right here in the street. So that's how low budget films are made. But the truth of the matter is, because it feels like a family, the film feels like a family. There's a lot of heart. Everybody gets to know everyone, and it's really personal. And I don't know, it allows for a lot of space for each person to kind of, bring their, whatever it is they bring personally to this thing.
Yeah, I love the fact that I hear over and over that you've all sort of embraced this no budget, low budget, micro budget. Many people sort of fight that, and you didn't. I think that's one of the joys that was evident in the film, is that it was really so much heart, so much love. So thank you for sort of embracing that issue that not a lot of people do. So that's Isabel and all the actors.
Well, and just to touch on that point as well, in spite of it being low budget, the acting and the directing are so good that it doesn't matter. And that's the important thing, because you can have a very high budget film, and when the acting isn't good, and most importantly, the directing isn't good, because you can have an amazing actor and then bad direction and all of that, it really falls apart. So, kudos to you guys for creating this on such a small budget, because it has so much heart and so much authenticity, and it's very, very enjoyable to watch all the way through. It's really, really excellent.
Amen. And Isabel, can you talk a little bit about, I'm not quite sure the timing. Did you have any COVID impact, even, like post-production or release, or did you get lucky and...
Yeah, I had a cut finished by September of 2019, and then it needed some work. so I guess like the last edit was March 2020. So no, I mean, aside from not being able to be with you all in person, yeah.
But we always say that too. That's one of the, it's good and bad. I won't ever say silver lining, but it's, we do feel so bad that we can't interact with people in person, but it also allows us to interact with people like Daniel in South Africa, who we wouldn't, be able to see. And so it, for us, it is sort of a joyful thing, even though there's some sadness to it as well. Unfortunately, I think we're running out of time, but I do have one of the questions I'd like to sort of ask as we leave is, like, what are your takeaways from the film? Somebody sits down, watches the film, takes the breath, and as they leave the theater, what do you sort of hope they take away? Let's start with Daniel.
Wow. All right. You've caught me off guard. What do I hope they take away? I think the takeaway for me, and I'm not saying this in a negative sense, I'm saying this actually as an understanding that all human beings should have, is that everybody hurts. And at some point or another, everybody hurts. That is what we all have in common. And it is through I hope that through this film, they can point and go, oh God, that was me, 5 years ago, or that was my brother, or that was, whoever it is. And you just see a little bit of humanity. This film doesn't have any set pieces. It doesn't have anything fancy. It's just, it just tells the truth about some really important stuff and some really difficult situations. And I hope they see a bit of themselves in it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sorry to catch you off guard, but that was very eloquent and very important, and I certainly get that. Panita?
I mean, for me, it's just to be honest with one in your life and to live your truth. So be honest with yourself as well, and because that's how you move on and forward. And sometimes it changes your relationships, and sometimes for the better. So for me, that's the main thing.
Amen. Megan?
I think two things I hope for people when they see this. One, that you're not alone. I think that's really important. There's a really beautiful quote that Isabel adds at the end, right before the credits, and I can't remember it exactly, but it's the essence is, if know that you're loved and know that you'll be okay, and if you don't feel that yet, you can walk with us. And I think that's really special and really important, and I hope people can feel that. And then the other thing is that I hope it inspires people that it's never too late to start over, and really dive into a world and a life that matters to you. And it's so easy to feel like, oh, I guess I've made my choice already and I'm stuck. And I just hope this film can shed a light on the fact that you always have the courage within you to build a life of love.
Absolutely, and you showed that through Amber. So, thank you for doing that. And again, we, as you do, hope that people get it. Isabel, final thoughts, takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have there wasn't an intention when I was writing it. I just wrote this love story, and I wrote it through my lens, and I felt it. I cried when they broke up. I actually took 2 days off before the breakup scene because I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to feel it. I had fallen so deeply in love with them. But that being said, once the film was done and we watched it, I was like, oh, this actually speaks to the friends and the families. It's not really directed at LGBTQ people. It feels like the story's more relevant almost for the allies or the people that aren't allies. And I know that even within my family, it has impacted and opened hearts, and that has been really moving and powerful. And maybe it's because it's my film and they're like, oh, you made this, I love you. Whoa, and my heart just opened up a little more. But I feel like maybe this film has the potential to open people's hearts to their people, to open people's minds and give an added level of perspective that's from the heart, and that can make change for the better.
I certainly do too. And you keep talking about how you fell in love with Amber and Logan. I fell in love with Amber and Logan. I think everybody will fall in love with Amber and Logan. Thank you to Devin and Bridget who couldn't join us for doing that. Wow, Jen, any final comments?
Just again, echoing that it's so great to watch. And as much as you said, Isabel, that it's so much for families to watch. And I thought about that myself, what a great film to play as many places as possible, because there is so much understanding. And the process that Devin's character goes through is so, organic, as she just even doesn't understand what's happening herself. The part about starting slow and then gradually getting into it. And, I think it's, as much as it's for everybody, it really, really does also speak to a lesbian audience. And I just think it's going to be very good all around. Good all around. And if you don't like this film, you're a bad, horrible person. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jen. And with that, muted. Again, I can't thank you enough, not only for allowing us to show the film, but for all of you of giving of your time and energy. And it was a miraculous film. We appreciate you shedding some light. And I even care more about the film than I did, if that's possible, when I saw it the first time. So Isabel, Panita, Daniel, Devin, Thank you from me, from our audience, from our volunteers, and from everybody. Please keep doing good work so we can have you back and in person, hopefully. But again, we thank you for your time. We're going to leave with a trailer for Walk With Me. And again, thank you to all of you. And thank you to everybody for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Look, I don't really know you. And I don't know what happened, but I think it's brave.
Brave. There's something in your eyes, I just can't find it. When you pull me close and draw me in, no need to hesitate, no need to hide it. When we can push it into second gear, everybody wants the same things, baby. We're all looking for a safe place. Hey, this could be our day. Baby, won't you stay? I could be your safe place.
Oh yeah, do that again, okay.
Safe place.
Uh-huh.
Do it again. Safe place. Oh. Safe place. Love watching you play.